I was wondering if you might find it interesting the idea of club friends versus good friends and best friends. A club friend, someone that you see almost every time you go to the club. You might sit next to them in the club, but you don't know much about them unless you show up to the club early so you can come in and talk before the music starts. There's also stepping out of the club into the alley, in my case at Neo, which is at the end of an alley. When you step outside, it's easier to talk to people and get to know them better. Find out what they do for a living, their favorite movies and music, etc., etc. When I first started going to Neo in the 1990s, I was introduced to the club by my friend Karen, who I met at a hobby store in Palatine, Illinois. I'd known her for a few months before we started going to Neo, so I'd gotten to know her well enough that she was, at the time, my best friend. Of course, I knew where she worked because I met her at work. Sometimes my club friends would become better friends because I'd had enough time talking to them outside of the club. My friends Steve and Missy, I met while changing in the office of the club for a fashion show we were taking part in. So when I found out that they were big fans of Star Wars like I was, that night I invited them to come over to my apartment to watch all of the Star Wars movies all at once. That day, we found out that we were perfect for each other as far as friends go. And then the music store that was just down the street from my apartment called Armageddon Records was a industrial and gothic specific music store. I would spend a lot of time down there talking to the people who ran it. They became friends. One of them was a DJ from one of the clubs that I went to as well. Then there was the day that my hobby store friends started going to goth nights and things like that because they were playing Vampire the Masquerade in Chicago. And when we played Vampire the Masquerade in the Chicago group, at the end of the night, the vampire crowd would go to Neo to finish up the night.